When Godzilla roared into the heart of dinosaur world, the ground itself trembled in fear. Ancient kings of the Jurassic rose from the ashes, ready to reclaim their throne. Volcanoes erupted, skies burned red, and the war for the last living world began. Every battle was bigger, bloodier, and more impossible than the last. Only one king would survive the apocalypse, and the world would never be the same. The sky was not blue. It was a molten, bleeding red, the kind of red that meant the world was ending. Ash fell like snow over the jagged cliffs of dinosaur world, coating the bones of creatures that had ruled for millions of years. And then the roar came. It wasn't the roar of a T-Rex. It wasn't the screech of a pteranodon. It was deeper, older, a sound that carried the weight of oceans and the fury of storms. Godzilla had arrived. For centuries, dinosaur world had been sealed away, a hidden realm where the last of the great reptiles thrived, untouched by man. Towering sauropods grazed in endless valleys, raptors hunted in coordinated packs, and apex predators like the bloodfang rex ruled the volcanic highlands. But now, something had torn open the barrier between worlds. Godzilla's massive silhouette emerged from a mist, his dorsal fins glowing with a ghostly blue light. Each step cracked the earth. Each breath steamed in the cold volcanic air. The dinosaurs froze. Even the bloodfang rex, a beast that had never known fear, took a step back. From the shadows of the cliffs, a pair of eyes watched. Not dinosaur eyes, not human eyes. Something else. Something older than both. The first attack came from above. A Skyrazor pteranodon, wingspan wider than a passenger jet, dove from the clouds, its talons aimed for Godzilla's eyes. Godzilla didn't flinch. His tail whipped upward with the force of a hurricane, smashing the Skyrazor mid-flight. The creature's body spiraled into the lava river below, vanishing in a hiss of steam. The ground shook again, but this time it wasn't Godzilla. From the far side of the valley, the bloodfang rex charged, its roar splitting the air. Its teeth were jagged spears, its hide armored with volcanic rock. It was the king here, and it would not bow. Godzilla met the charge head-on. The impact was like two meteors colliding. Shockwaves rippled through the valley, knocking smaller dinosaurs off their feet. The bloodfang bit down on Godzilla's shoulder, and for the first time, Godzilla bled. The scent of blood drove the raptor packs into a frenzy. Dozens of them swarmed from the undergrowth, their claws flashing, their eyes burning with hunger. Godzilla swung his tail, crushing 5 in a single blow, but more came. The bloodfang roared again, lunging for Godzilla's throat. And then the sky split open. A beam of pure blue atomic fire erupted from Godzilla's jaws, slicing through the raptor pack and igniting the forest beyond. Trees exploded into flame. The bloodfang staggered back, its armor glowing red from the heat. But it didn't fall. It smiled, if a dinosaur could smile. And from behind it, the rest of the Titan Council emerged. There were 5 of them. 5 apex dinosaurs, each a nightmare given flesh. Bloodfang Rex, the warlord. Stormclaw Raptor, lightning fast, with talons that could cut steel. Gravemoss Sauropod, a walking fortress, its tail like a wrecking ball. Venom-winged Pteranodon, master of the skies, dripping acid from its beak. Helljaw Spinosaurus, the river killer, eyes like molten gold. They surrounded Godzilla. The war for dinosaur world had begun. Godzilla's roar shook the mountains. The Titan Council answered with their own. The air between them crackled with heat and hate. And then they charged. The valley was silent for a heartbeat. Only the hiss of lava rivers and the crackle of burning trees filled the air. Godzilla's eyes swept across the circle of predators, each one a living weapon, each one bred for dominance. The bloodfang Rex's claws dug into the volcanic rock, molten dust swirling around its feet. The Stormclaw Raptor darted left and right, its movements so fast they blurred, testing for an opening. Above, the venom-winged Pteranodon circled, its shadow slicing across Godzilla's armored hide. The Gravemoss Sauropod stood like a living wall, its tail swinging lazily, but every swing could shatter a mountain. And from the black waters of the lava-fed river, the Helljaw Spinosaurus emerged, steam curling from its nostrils. They moved as one. The Titan Council had fought together for centuries. Godzilla was the intruder, and they would tear him apart. The first strike came from the sky. Venomwing folded its wings and dove, acid dripping from its beak. Godzilla raised an arm to shield his face, but the acid splashed across his forearm, sizzling through the scales. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. Before he could retaliate, Stormclaw was on him, a blur of talons and teeth. It slashed across Godzilla's chest, carving deep grooves into his armor. Godzilla roared, swinging his tail, but Stormclaw was already gone, darting behind Gravemaw's massive legs. The ground shook as Gravemaw charged. Its colossal tail swung like a wrecking ball, smashing into Godzilla's ribs. The impact sent him staggering sideways, straight into the waiting jaws of Helljaw. The Spinosaurus clamped down on Godzilla's shoulder, its teeth sinking deep. Blood sprayed across the lava rocks. Helljaw twisted, trying to rip the limb clean off. Godzilla's dorsal fins flared. A pulse of blue light surged through his body. With a roar that split the sky, he unleashed a point-blank atomic blast into Helljaw's face. The Spinosaurus screamed, its head engulfed in blue fire. It stumbled back into the river, steam exploding upward as the water boiled around it. But there was no time to breathe. Bloodfang was already in motion. The Rex slammed into Godzilla's side, driving him into the cliff wall. Rocks shattered. Boulders tumbled into the lava below. Godzilla's claws raked across Bloodfang's face, tearing away chunks of volcanic armor. The Rex roared in fury, biting down on Godzilla's neck. Godzilla's tail whipped around, smashing into Bloodfang's legs, forcing it to release. From above, Venomwing dove again, but this time, Godzilla was ready. He spun, his tail catching the Pteranodon mid-flight, sending it crashing into the burning forest. The battle raged across the valley. Every strike shook the earth. Every roar echoed for miles. Smaller dinosaurs fled in panic. Herds of Triceratops stampeding through the jungle. Packs of raptors scattering into the shadows. The sky was black with ash, the air thick with the stench of blood and fire. Godzilla fought like a storm given flesh. But the Titan Council fought like a pack of wolves, coordinated, relentless, each attack setting up the next. Stormclaw darted in again, slashing at Godzilla's legs. Gravemaw's tail came down like a hammer, forcing him to block high. Bloodfang lunged low, aiming for the gut. Godzilla's roar shook the mountains. He slammed his foot into the ground, sending a shockwave through the valley. The force knocked Stormclaw off its feet, staggered Gravemaw, and sent Bloodfang skidding backward. For a moment, the council hesitated. Godzilla's dorsal fins began to glow brighter than before. The air around him shimmered with heat. Then, with a sound like the world breaking, he unleashed a full-power atomic pulse. The blast ripped outward in a sphere of blue fire, flattening trees, shattering rock, and hurling the Titan Council backward. Venomwing's wings caught fire midair. Stormclaw slammed into a cliff face, leaving a crater. Gravemaw's armor cracked, molten blood spilling from the wounds. Helljaw's charred head rose from the river, eyes burning with hate. Bloodfang was still standing. Smoke curled from its body, but its eyes burned brighter than ever. The Rex roared, and the ground answered. From deep beneath the valley, something stirred. The lava rivers surged higher, glowing brighter. The cliffs trembled. Godzilla turned, sensing it. This wasn't just a fight. Something was waking up. The Bloodfang Rex stepped back, its gaze never leaving Godzilla's. It wasn't retreating. It was making space. The ground split open. From the chasm, a shape began to rise, bigger than Godzilla, bigger than anything in Dinosaur World. A shadow blotted out the burning sky. The Titan Council had not been the true threat. They had been the guardians. And now, their god was awake. The creature's head emerged first, a skull-like face, eyes glowing molten gold. Its body was a mountain of jagged bone and obsidian, lava flowing through cracks in its hide. Its roar was not a sound, but a force, a shockwave that flattened the jungle for miles. Godzilla stared up at it. For the first time since entering Dinosaur World, he did not move. The Titan Council formed a loose circle around the newcomer, their eyes lowered. Even Bloodfang bowed its head. The creature's gaze locked on Godzilla. It stepped forward, each movement shaking the world. The war for Dinosaur World had just become something far worse. The ground was still shaking, not from footsteps, from the heartbeat of the thing that had just risen from the chasm. It towered over everything. Even Godzilla looked small beneath it. Its hide was a fortress of jagged obsidian plates, each one glowing faintly from the rivers of molten core that pulsed beneath. Its skull-like face was framed by two colossal horns, each dripping with lava. Its eyes, molten gold, locked on Godzilla with the cold certainty of a predator that had never lost. The Titan Council stood in reverent silence. Bloodfang Rex lowered its head. Stormclaw crouched low, tail twitching. Gravemaw's massive bulk shifted, almost like it was kneeling. Venomwings circled above, its screeches now softer, deferential. Helljaw's charred face emerged from the river, steam curling from its nostrils. This was their god, Magmageddon, the first flame, the dinosaur world's true king. Godzilla's dorsal fins glowed faintly, his breath steaming in the sulfur-choked air. He had fought titans before. He had fought gods before. But this was different. Magmageddon's roar was not just sound. It was a shockwave that rippled through the valley, flattening trees, shattering cliff faces, and sending herds of smaller dinosaurs stampeding in blind panic. The lava rivers surged higher, spilling over their banks. The sky darkened further, ash falling like black snow. Then it moved. For something so massive, Magmageddon was impossibly fast. One step, and the ground cracked open beneath its foot. 2 steps, and it was in striking range. Its claw came down like a meteor. Godzilla barely rolled aside, the impact carving a crater into the valley floor. Before he could counter, Stormclaw darted in, slashing at his legs, forcing him to stumble. Venomwing Dove spraying acid across his back. The pain was instant. His scales hissed and smoked. Magmageddon's tail, a spiked, molten whip, lashed out, catching Godzilla across the chest. The force sent him skidding backward, gouging trenches in the rock. Godzilla roared, firing his atomic breath in a blazing arc. The beam struck Magmageddon's chest, exploding in a burst of blue fire. For a moment, the god beast staggered, but then it stepped forward through the blast, molten cracks in its armor sealing themselves as if the attack had only fed it. Godzilla's eyes narrowed. This thing didn't just survive heat, it thrived on it. Magmageddon lunged, jaws wide. Godzilla met it head-on, their teeth clashing in a shower of sparks. The ground beneath them fractured, lava spilling into the cracks. Bloodfang charged from the side, slamming into Godzilla's ribs. Helljaw surged from the river, clamping onto his tail. Gravemaw's colossal tail came down like a hammer, smashing into his shoulder. Godzilla was being pulled apart. With a surge of fury, his dorsal fins flared blinding blue. A shockwave of atomic energy blasted outward, hurling Bloodfang and Helljaw back. Stormclaw was caught mid-leap, sent tumbling through the air. Venomwing's wings ignited, forcing it to retreat, screeching into the clouds. But Magmageddon didn't move. It simply absorbed the blast, its molten veins glowing brighter. Then it struck. Its clawed hand closed around Godzilla's throat, lifting him from the ground. The pressure was crushing, bones creaked, scales split. Magmageddon's molten breath washed over him, blistering his hide. Godzilla's tail whipped up, smashing into Magmageddon's jaw. The grip loosened just enough for him to drop to the ground. He lunged forward, biting deep into Magmageddon's forearm. Molten blood sprayed, burning his mouth, but he didn't let go. Magmageddon roared, swinging its arm and hurling Godzilla across the valley. He crashed through a ridge, boulders tumbling after him. The Titan Council moved in again, sensing weakness. Stormclaw darted in, slashing at his legs. Bloodfang lunged for his neck. Helljaw tried to drag him toward the river. Godzilla fought like a cornered storm. His claws tore into Stormclaw's flank, sending the raptor spinning away. He slammed his tail into Bloodfang's chest, cracking its volcanic armor. Helljaw's grip broke under a blast of atomic breath that boiled the river around it. But every second he fought them, Magmageddon was watching, studying. Then the god beast raised its head and roared again. The ground split wider. From the fissures, more creatures emerged. Dinosaurs twisted by molten energy, their eyes glowing gold like their masters. They were faster, stronger, and utterly fearless. Godzilla was surrounded again, but this time the army was endless. Magmageddon stepped forward, the heat radiating from its body, warping the air. Its voice was a low, rumbling growl that seemed to vibrate inside Godzilla's skull. It was a challenge, a promise. Godzilla's fins lit up once more, brighter than they had all battle. The air between them shimmered with power. The next clash would decide more than the valley. It would decide who ruled the last living world. The valley was no longer a battlefield. It was an inferno. Lava rivers overflowed, swallowing entire forests. The air shimmered with heat, ash falling like black snow. And in the center of it all, Godzilla stood surrounded by an endless tide of molten-veined dinosaurs, their eyes glowing gold with the will of Magmageddon. The god beast loomed above them all, its molten veins pulsing brighter with every heartbeat. It didn't need to fight yet. Its army was a storm before the lightning strike. The first wave hit like a tidal surge. Dozens of magma raptors darted in, their claws glowing red-hot from the heat in their blood. Godzilla's tail swept through them, sending bodies flying, but more leapt onto his back, biting and clawing. Their teeth sank deep, steam hissing from the wounds. From above, Venom Wing returned, its wings tattered but still deadly. It spat a stream of acid that splashed across Godzilla's shoulder, burning through scale and muscle. Godzilla roared in pain, spinning to blast it with atomic breath, but Stormclaw was already there, slashing at his legs to break his aim. The ground shook as Gravemaw charged, its colossal tail smashing into Godzilla's side. The impact knocked him to one knee. And that's when Helljaw struck from the river, clamping onto his arm and trying to drag him under the boiling water. Godzilla's dorsal fins flared bright blue. With a roar that split the sky, he unleashed a pulse of atomic energy that blasted outward in all directions. Magma raptors vaporized instantly. Venom Wing was hurled from the air, crashing into the burning jungle. Helljaw released its grip, thrashing in the scalding river. But Magmageddon didn't flinch. If anything, its molten veins glowed brighter, feeding on the heat, the destruction, the chaos. It stepped forward. One step, the ground cracked. 2 steps, the lava surged higher. 3 steps, it was within striking range. Godzilla lunged first, slamming into Magmageddon's chest with the force of an earthquake. The god beast staggered back a single step, then its claws came down, raking across Godzilla's face. Blood sprayed, sizzling as it hit the molten ground. Magmageddon's tail whipped around, smashing into Godzilla's ribs and sending him crashing into a cliff. The rock shattered, burying him under a landslide of boulders. The Titan Council roared in unison, closing in to finish him. Bloodfang lunged for the kill, but the rubble exploded outward in a burst of blue light. Godzilla emerged, his fins blazing brighter than ever. The air around him shimmered with raw power. He wasn't just fighting now, he was burning. He charged. His claws tore into Bloodfang's chest, ripping away chunks of volcanic armor. A blast of atomic breath sent Stormclaw tumbling into the lava river. His tail smashed into Gravemaw's legs, toppling the giant's sauropod. For a moment, the battlefield shifted. The army faltered. Even Magmageddon paused. Then the god beast roared, and the world answered. The ground split wider, and from the chasm rose pillars of molten rock that twisted into the shapes of colossal dinosaur skeletons. They moved, alive, burning, unstoppable. These were Magmageddon's primordial guardians, forged from the planet's own bones. One swung a tail of pure magma, smashing into Godzilla and sending him skidding across the valley. Another lunged, jaws snapping shut around his arm. The heat was unbearable, even for him. Godzilla roared, blasting one guardian apart with atomic breath, but two more took its place. The army was endless. Magmageddon finally moved in. Its clawed hand closed around Godzilla's throat, lifting him high. Its molten breath washed over him, blistering his hide. Godzilla's fins flickered. His energy was draining. The Titan Council circled, ready to strike the moment their god commanded. The primordial guardians closed in, their molten bones glowing brighter. Magmageddon leaned close, its golden eyes burning into Godzilla's. It wasn't just trying to kill him. It was trying to break him. But deep in Godzilla's chest, something stirred. A sound, low, rumbling, building. His fins began to glow again, but this time, not blue. They burned white-hot. The air around him warped. The ground beneath him cracked. Even Magmageddon hesitated. Godzilla roared, a sound so loud it shattered the nearest cliff face and unleashed a white atomic pulse. The blast was blinding. The primordial guardians disintegrated instantly. The Titan Council was hurled back like ragdolls. The lava rivers boiled over, flooding the valley. Magmageddon staggered for the first time. Its molten veins dimmed. Its claws loosened. Godzilla dropped to the ground, chest heaving. The battlefield was silent except for the hiss of cooling rock. Then Magmageddon's eyes flared brighter than ever. Its molten veins surged with fresh power. The ground shook harder than before. From deep within the chasm, something else began to rise. Something even Magmageddon had kept buried. Godzilla turned, his eyes narrowing. The war for Dinosaur World was about to enter a phase no one had seen in millions of years. The chasm was no longer just a wound in the earth. It was a gateway. From its depths came a sound so deep it rattled the bones of every living thing in Dinosaur World. Even Magmageddon, the first flame, stepped back. Godzilla's eyes narrowed. If Magmageddon feared what was coming, it meant only one thing. This was older, stronger, a predator of gods. The ground split wider, vomiting fire and molten rock into the sky. From the inferno, a shape began to rise. A colossal silhouette, its body forged from blackened, metal-like bone, its hide streaked with rivers of glowing magma. Its head was crowned with jagged spines that pulsed with crimson light, and its eyes burned not gold, but a deep blood red. The air grew heavier. The lava rivers slowed, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. The Titan Council froze. Bloodfang's tail lowered. Stormclaw stopped pacing. Even Venomwing landed, wings folding tight. Magmageddon's molten gaze shifted to the newcomer, and for the first time, it bowed its head. Pyrocronos, the World Eater, the first predator to ever walk the earth, born in the planet's molten heart before even the dinosaurs. It had been sealed away by the combined might of the first Titans, Magmageddon among them, because nothing could kill it. Now, freed by the chaos of the battle, it had returned. Godzilla's dorsal fins flickered between blue and white, his body still steaming from the white atomic pulse. He was exhausted, but he knew there was no time to recover. Pyrocronos was already moving. Its first step shook the valley so violently that entire cliffs collapsed into the lava rivers. Its second step sent shockwaves through the ground, knocking smaller dinosaurs off their feet. Its third step brought it face to face with Godzilla. The World Eater's breath was molten ash. Its roar was a wall of sound that shattered the nearest ridge into dust. Godzilla roared back, the sound echoing across the burning sky. They collided. The impact was like two planets colliding. The shockwave flattened the jungle for miles, sending herds of dinosaurs stampeding in every direction. Lava geysers erupted, raining molten rock across the battlefield. Godzilla's claws raked across Pyrocronos' chest, tearing deep grooves into its armor. But molten blood sprayed from the wounds, burning his hands. Pyrocronos' tail whipped around, smashing into Godzilla's side and sending him tumbling into the lava river. The molten current surged around him, but Godzilla rose, steam hissing from his body. He fired a beam of atomic breath, white-hot, straight into Pyrocronos' face. The blast staggered the beast, but it didn't fall. Magmageddon moved in. For a moment, Godzilla thought it was coming to finish him, but instead, the first flame slammed into Pyrocronos' flank, driving it back. The two ancient titans roared at each other, their molten bodies clashing in a storm of fire and stone. Godzilla realized the truth. Pyrocronos was not Magmageddon's ally. It was its enemy. And now, all three of them were locked in a war that could tear Dinosaur World apart. The Titan Council hesitated, unsure who to follow. Bloodfang snarled, eyes darting between Magmageddon and Pyrocronos. Stormclaw paced, tail lashing. Venomwing screeched, taking to the air. Then Pyrocronos roared, and the molten dinosaur army turned on everyone. It didn't care who ruled. It would burn the world until nothing lived. Godzilla and Magmageddon fought side by side for the first time. Godzilla's atomic breath carved through the molten hordes, vaporizing them in bursts of white fire. Magmageddon's claws ripped through their ranks, each strike sending rivers of lava spraying across the battlefield. But Pyrocronos was everywhere. Its tail smashed into Magmageddon, sending the first flame crashing into a cliff. Its claws raked across Godzilla's chest, tearing deep wounds. Its molten breath washed over them both, blistering their hides. Godzilla's vision blurred. The heat was suffocating. His energy reserves were nearly gone. But then he saw it, a weakness. The molten veins across Pyrocronos' chest pulsed in a rhythm, glowing brighter before each attack. If he could hit that spot with everything he had, he roared to Magmageddon, a sound that carried meaning even across species. The first flame's eyes narrowed, and it understood. Magmageddon lunged, slamming into Pyrocronos and locking its jaws around the World Eater's neck. The two titans grappled, molten blood spraying across the battlefield. Godzilla charged, his dorsal fins blazing pure white. The air warped around him. The ground cracked beneath his feet. Every ounce of power he had left surged into his chest. Pyrocronos turned, its eyes widening as Godzilla unleashed a white atomic beam straight into its chest. The blast struck the glowing veins, and for the first time, Pyrocronos screamed. The molten lines across its body flared blinding white, then cracked, spilling rivers of magma onto the ground. The explosion was deafening. A shockwave ripped through the valley, hurling dinosaurs in every direction. The lava rivers surged higher, flooding the battlefield. The sky turned white with heat. When the light faded, Pyrocronos was on one knee, molten blood pouring from its wounds. But it wasn't dead. Its eyes still burned red. It roared, and the ground beneath them all began to collapse. The chasm widened into a vast crater, swallowing entire sections of the valley. Lava surged upward in massive fountains. The battlefield was breaking apart. Godzilla staggered to his feet, chest heaving. Magmageddon rose beside him, molten armor cracked and smoking. Pyrocronos stood across from them, still burning, still ready to fight. The three titans locked eyes. The next clash would decide the fate of Dinosaur World or destroy it completely. The crater was alive. Lava surged like a living ocean, swallowing the last remnants of the valley. Chunks of burning rock rained from the sky, each impact sending shockwaves through the molten ground. Godzilla stood on a jagged outcrop, chest heaving, his white-hot dorsal fins flickering like dying stars. Across from him, Magmageddon's molten armor was cracked and leaking rivers of fire. And between them, Pyrocronos, the World Eater, rose from the crater's heart, its blood-red eyes locked on both. The air was so hot, it warped the horizon. Every breath burned. Every movement sent ripples through the unstable ground. Pyrocronos moved first. Its tail, a serrated whip of molten bone, lashed out, smashing into Magmageddon and sending the first flame tumbling into the lava. Before Godzilla could react, Pyrocronos lunged, jaws wide, aiming to crush his skull. Godzilla ducked low, ramming his shoulder into the beast's chest. The impact drove Pyrocronos back a step, just enough for Godzilla to unleash a point-blank white atomic beam into its throat. The blast lit the crater like a second sun. Pyrocronos staggered, molten blood spraying, but it didn't fall. From the lava, Magmageddon erupted, claws raking across Pyrocronos' flank. The two ancient titans locked together, molten blood and shards of obsidian flying with every strike. Godzilla didn't hesitate. He charged, slamming into Pyrocronos' side. For the first time, all three titans were locked in a single, chaotic clash. The ground beneath them cracked, molten geysers erupting in every direction. The roar of battle drowned out the world. The Titan Council reappeared at the crater's edge. Bloodfang, Stormclaw, Gravemaw, Venomwing, and Helljaw watched in silence. They had no king now, only gods tearing the world apart. Then Bloodfang roared, and the council leapt into the fray. Not to save Godzilla, not to save Magmageddon, but to kill Pyrocronos before it consumed everything. The battlefield became a storm of claws, teeth, and fire. Godzilla tore through molten raptors, his tail smashing them into the lava. Magmageddon's molten breath incinerated entire waves of Pyrocronos' army. The Titan Council struck from all sides, their combined fury driving the World Eater back step by step. But Pyrocronos was not retreating. It was charging. With a roar that split the sky, it slammed both claws into the ground. The crater floor collapsed, revealing a swirling vortex of molten rock and blinding light. The pull was instant. The lava, the rock, even the titans themselves began to slide toward the vortex. Godzilla dug his claws into the rock, his tail whipping for balance. Magmageddon roared, molten armor flaring as it fought the pull. The Titan Council scrambled, some slipping dangerously close to the edge. Pyrocronos stepped forward into the vortex's glow, its body absorbing the molten energy. It was feeding, growing stronger. Godzilla's eyes narrowed. If Pyrocronos absorbed the vortex's full power, nothing could stop it. He roared to Magmageddon, a single, urgent command. The first flame's eyes blazed in understanding. They moved together. Godzilla charged from the left, Magmageddon from the right. Their combined impact slammed into Pyrocronos' chest, driving it back from the vortex's heart. The World Eater roared in fury, claws tearing into both of them. Godzilla's scales split, molten blood spraying. Magmageddon's armor shattered further, chunks falling into the lava. The vortex's pull grew stronger. The battlefield was collapsing faster now. There was no time. Godzilla's dorsal fins flared white again, but brighter than ever before. Magmageddon's molten veins surged with blinding gold. They were going to do it together. One final strike. Pyrocronos lunged, and both titans unleashed their full power. Godzilla's white atomic beam and Magmageddon's molten flame surge collided into a single, blinding spear of energy. The blast tore through Pyrocronos' chest, punching a hole straight through its molten core. The World Eater screamed, its body cracking apart. Molten blood poured into the vortex, feeding it until it exploded in a column of fire that reached the clouds. When the light faded, Pyrocronos was gone. The vortex had sealed. The crater was silent. Godzilla stood, chest heaving, his fins dimming. Magmageddon watched him, molten eyes unreadable. For a moment, it seemed they might fight again. But then Magmageddon turned, stepping back into the lava's depths. The first flame had no interest in ruling. Not today. Godzilla roared, the sound echoing across the broken world. Dinosaur World was his now.